Okay, this is a video on how to make a hip implant in Rhino. I've gone to the website and I've downloaded 3 files I'm going to need. There's the assignment, the PDF with detailed instructions. I'll open that up. That's here's the instructions. So turn in something like this when you're all done, but there's all the little steps in here that you got to follow, and I'm just going to go through these steps for you guys. So I also have pelvis 3DM, which is a Rhino file I've already done some pre-processing on, so you need to download that. And then there's femur profiles DXF, and you need to download that as well. So I'll start up Rhino. I'm going to open, file open from the desktop, this pelvis 3DM, open that up. So I've done some pre-processing on this thing. This is a wireframe mesh, so they sometimes call it. It's made of polygons. It's made of a bunch of little triangles. So there's so many of these triangles that it may be hard to see, so you might have to go to view, display options, ghosted, and uncheck this little show mesh wires thing. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, do that. Then we'll just get started here. So you want to draw a sphere, and I'll turn on grid snap and put this at the origin, and the radius is 0.8125. I'm just going to key that in. Now you want to move this thing around using the top, front, and right view to do the actual movements, but watch what you're doing in the perspective. Okay, so do your movements in the 3 ortho planes, that is the top, the front, and the right plane, but watch what's happening in the perspective view up in here. And let's see, so I'm going to turn off grid snap because, yeah, I don't really want grid snap all the time for this thing. So it's hard to see, but you have to sort of eyeball where the ball joint is on the bone here, right? And then put our sphere in that same spot. So that's pretty good. Now draw a cylinder and use O-snap, turn on O-snap, and make sure that all of these boxes are unchecked except for center. Okay, now that means we'll snap to the center of this sphere here, and you got to be watching in all 3 planes to make sure that you have the center that you actually want. So that looks pretty good. So we'll draw that, and the radius will be 0.5. I'm keying that in while the cursor is in the top view, and then I'll move the cursor down to the front view and sort of eyeball the approximate height kind of by moving the cursor, just to make sure I have the right axis, right? To make sure that I'm specifying the length in the correct direction. So that looks pretty good, and I'll just key in 2 inches for the cylinder. All right, then you want to do a bunch of rotation. So type in rotate, click the cylinder, enter. It's asking for the center of rotation, which I want the center of the cylinder, which is also the center of the ball. And it's going to want you to specify 2 points that specify an angle. So first one I'll just do there. It really doesn't matter where, but you want to do this kind of thing like this. I'm doing this in the front view, and turn it around so that it goes down kind of aligned with the bone here, the femur. Drop it there, and then repeat that rotation, the same object, that is, the same center point, but use the top plane now. Okay, so I'm starting the rotation and then I'm specifying an angle out about that way. And I'm watching in the other views what's happening to see if it's going down the bone right. That looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to do another rotation. So I press enter. That'll repeat the previous command, which was a rotate. Select objects, that's the cylinder, enter. Center point. You can select the center in really any of these planes. But when it asks for the angle or first reference point, I want to do the first reference point and the second reference point that specify the angle. I want to do that in the right plane here. So I'm doing my first reference point there. Now I'm specifying an angle. You can see as I move the cursor how that works. And then I'm watching the cylinder as I do this angle. And I have grid snap and ortho off right now, otherwise it'll jump around. So just specify the angle such that the cylinder is kind of centered down the femur. And then you can go and look around in the perspective. It would be better, you can see the cylinder right kind of in here is kind of, it's not inside the bone, so I could probably do a couple of more rotations. So I'm going to hit enter to repeat the rotate command. Select the cylinder, enter, select the center point. Let's see what happens if I rotate it in the top view a little there. So I'm doing the rotation in the top view, but I'm watching mostly in the perspective this time to see that the cylinder goes right down the center of the bone there. That looks pretty good, but let me do another rotation. Select the cylinder, enter the center point. Let's do it like maybe I think I might be getting it now, maybe. It's not bad. I don't like the way it's poking out through here. I think that's about as good as I can get it. I might be able to fix it up here. Let's see. Let me do another rotation in the front view and see if I can make that. Yeah, that's getting a little better. Let's do that. It's maybe a little bit better. That's not bad. I'll go with that. All right, then do a edit split. I want to split this ball. Enter. Using the cutting object would be the cylinder. Enter. Okay, now I can delete the cylinder. Just select it and press delete. And what it did is it cut a hole, and for some reason there's two pieces to that hole, so you got to select them separately and delete them. So basically it cut this round hole in the ball, so that's fine. The hole is just kind of pointing in the right direction, so where we got the cylinder oriented previously was fine, because the only point of that was just to get this hole kind of pointing in the right direction. So that looks pretty good. I have a hole that's sort of pointing down the bone there, which is what I want. All right, so that's going to be the ball part of the ball and socket joint, right? And that's what a hip is, a ball and socket. So we've made the ball. Now we need the socket, or you could call that the cup. I think I called it the cup in the instructions. So we need to make a cup So I'm going to offset this surface. So it's surface, offset surface. Distance is 0.125. That's already keyed in because I've done this before. And the arrows are pointing out away or outside to the outside of the ball. If you wanted to flip those arrow directions, you could click the or you could press the flip button, the flip option up here. All right, that's what we want. So press enter. There we go. So we've offset. We have two surfaces now. All right, now I want to take this outer surface and cut it so that it forms kind of a half sphere that would be the cup stuck into the pelvis. So I want to draw a surface plane corner to corner, and I'll draw it in the front view. I'm going to click in the front view. I'm going to click here and here. So it's bigger. The plane is bigger than the sphere. Okay. Now, if you look in the perspective view, you can see that the plane was drawn on the red line, or the plane that goes through the red line. See, it's sort of lined up with the red line here. In other words, it's right here on the red line in the top view. So we want to move that plane to the center of the circle. So type in the move command, and with O snap on and the center snap option, the only snap option, just center, it's asking for the point to move from. Put your cursor on the plane until you get this center point, and be sure to look in kind of all the planes to verify that you're getting the correct center. So we're selecting the center of the plane, really. Now move your cursor over until it snaps to the center of the ball, and once again looking at all four views really to make sure that I'm snapping to the correct center. Okay, now I'm going to drop it there by clicking. So I've moved the plane to the center of the ball. Now I'm going to do a bunch of rotations to sort of line up this plane with the pelvis. So type in rotate. Center rotation is with O snap, click to the center of this ball. And then I'll do a series of rotations in different planes, in the top view, in the front view, in the right view. Just a little at a time, rotating it a little in one view, and then a little bit in another view, and a little bit in the other view, until this thing is kind of in the proper orientation here. So I'm going to start off with the top view. There's my first reference point, and I'll turn it approximately so. Okay, then I'll press enter to repeat the rotate command. It's asking me for the center rotation. I'm using O snap to select the center of the circle. And now it's going to want two reference points that specify the angle, and I'll do those two reference points in the front view. So I'll click here and I'll turn it about like so. Okay, now I'm going to go over here to the perspective and just sort of look at it. And wow, I did it. That's a pretty good job. I lucked out there. I want this plane here to sort of be kind of tucked up against the pelvic bone, and it looks pretty good. Now, I lucked out there. Now you might have to do several more rotations, and if you do them like a little bit in each view. Do a little bit of rotation, a little at a time, and then sort of check in the perspective until the plane's kind of feels like it's in a good spot. That's pretty good. Now I want to use this plane to cut this outer sphere, and I want a little bit less than a half sphere, so I'm going to offset this plane using surface, offset surface, select the plane, enter, click this flip all because I want it to go, I want the offset to go towards the pelvis, and my mouse slipped and I clicked I selected enter, I think, but you might have to hit enter. So there's the offset that I did. I just slipped and it did it. But anyway, there might be a missing enter that you have to do. So play with that. All right, now I can take this first plane and delete it. I don't need it anymore, and I can go to edit, split, and I'm going to take this outer surface. That's the object I want to split. Press enter. Then it's prompted me to select cutting objects. I'll pick this plane here, press enter. So it took this outer ball and cut it in half, and that's the the half I don't want. So I'm going to delete that. I'm going to pick the plane and delete that, and that right there is the outside cup that's kind of tucked into the bone, and I want that. Okay, it's just a surface. It's just a hemispherical surface on, it has no volume. It's just the curvy surface. I need to cap the end of it. And let's see, just so you see what I'm talking about, you can just drag it over here and then you can look at it. You can see that it's just a surface. So I'll Control Z to move it back. All right, now I want to go solid, cap planar holes. Now it capped it. I'll move it out here so you can look at it again. So now it's a solid, and because it has a surface covering this, this opening, it has a flat surface on there. And to double check, it's good to select it and do a volume command. And if you get a number, which I got 1.382, that means it's a fully enclosed volume, which is what Rhino considers to be a solid. All right, I'll Control Z to move it back. All right, so that's the cut. Now let's go back to finish, to work on the rest of the hip implant. So I'm going to grab everything and move it. I'm going to use grid snap and just drag everything kind of straight up and up against center. So I grabbed it in the front view and drug it up in the front view, and then I grabbed it in the top view and dragged it, I guess, back along the y-axis in the top view. I just got it out of the way so that I have some room to work in here. All right, now go File, Import, select Femur Profiles DXF that you've previously downloaded from the website. Select Open. Select OK to accept all the defaults. This is what you get. I'm going to select the border and delete it. Okay, now if you look at the instructions, what you need to do is get your display to look like this. So in the top view, you want, see how these things are kind of, they sort of point to the left here. So we need to change that here. Here they point down, right? But in my instructions, they sort of point to the left. And then they're arranged in the front view here, just using the grid. You can see the first one is 1 inch up, then approximately 2 1/4, then approximately 3, and then approximately 4, and then they're rotated at these angles here. So refer to these instructions here as you do a series of rotations until your screen looks like the instructions. So I'm going to grab all of these, and the first thing you need to do is rotate the top view about the center. You can turn on ortho here so that your two reference points that specify the angle are, orthographic. So there's the first reference point, and the second reference point would be straight down. So basically I'm just turning that 90 degrees so it points to the left, all right, in the top view. Then select in the top view the outside one, and then drop down to the front view with your cursor and drag it up 4 inches. Okay, then go back to the top view and select the next one. Drop down to the front view and drag it up 3 inches. Then take the third one from the top view and then drop down to the front view and drag it up 2 1/4. Just the drag ups I'm doing by leaving grid snap on and then just watching the grid as I do the drags. Okay, then this circle here, select it in the top view, drag it up 1 inch. Okay, then take this one here, do a rotate. Snap into the center, that's fine. Doesn't really matter. And turn off ortho and get it to look about like that. Just eyeball it. And then the second one, do a rotate. Get it to look about like that. That's too much. About like that. This one, do a rotate. Get it to look about so. Those are pretty good. And then maybe turn grid snap off and move these guys around just so that they look a little smoother. That's pretty good. Okay, now selecting all these in yellow, just to make them yellow so that they're all, the group is all together, just to point out that it looks like the instructions now. All right. So now I have all of these selected. You can do surface loft. Okay, it's going to draw this funny little line. You do need to take some time and fix this line up by dragging these. So you want to turn off OSnap. You want to drag these little dots around so that they're straight. So you have to click on them and then drag and then click again. Click on it and then drag and then click again. And then they have these little arrows. Click on the arrow until all of these arrows are pointing the same direction. All right. So you want the line to be pretty straight and the arrows to all be going the same direction. Then once you have all that, press enter. And this one turned out okay. Now, if yours doesn't look smooth like this, go back and adjust that line a little bit more. Get the line straighter and get the arrows, pointing the right direction. Okay, and try. You might have to do that a couple of times, sort of tweaking the line, the little points on the line. So that they're centered and straight, and play with that a little bit. Okay, then click this rebuild option with 10 points. Make sure the option is highlighted, and then say okay, and that's it. That's the surface we need. So it's just a surface. It's hollow on the top and it's hollow on the bottom. We're going to join it with some other surfaces so that the only thing missing will be this hole in the bottom, and then we'll cap that using cap planar holes. So for now, we want to select the surface we just made and move it, moving it in the top plane inside the bones. Then I'm going to, I'm just going to grab all of these bones and move them down in the front view, and I'm going to move them down in the top view as well. And then I'll take my surface and move it down. Okay. So let's see, get this all set up. Okay. So I need to do a rotate. Turn this guy about like so in the top view. Do another rotate. And I have grid snap off, ortho off, everything off. I'm just eyeballing it. That's fine. It's biology. Nothing's very precise here. Nothing lines up on snap and bones. Okay, so I'm just moving it a little at a time in the right view, the front view, and the top view. I'm moving it and doing some rotations until it sort of, this surface here sort of points kind of down inside the bone there. That looks pretty good. Just checking it in the perspective. All right, so what I have is, I have this surface that fits in the leg bone, and then I have this ball. I need to join those. We have a command called surface blend surface. Select that. It's asking for an edge. I want to pick this edge right there. Okay, then it's asking for the second edge. I'll turn the view around. It wants this edge. Okay, having a problem here. I think I'm going to start over. That's not good. Let me start over. So, starting the command over surface, blend surface. I'm going to click chain edges. Yeah, I want to make sure that auto chain equals yes, it does. All right, I'll pick this edge. All right, and it, for some reason there's several pieces to this edge, and if you click auto chain, make sure that that's yes, then it'll join all of those edges. Okay, that's the first edge. The second edge is this one. All right, great. And it draws this line with the two dots, and that looks pretty good. You can edit that if you want by dragging this point around and playing with the arrows. I don't think I needed to do that, but you might need to do that. Anyway, that looks pretty good. Make sure it's straight and not all twisty. Then press enter. All right, great. Then you get these little sliders. You can sort of adjust that until this thing looks like it would be like strong or whatever. So I'm going to go right there. I'm going to adjust those two sliders and then say okay. Okay, great. So I have this surface, and this surface. I'm going to hold down shift and select all three. Okay, then I'm going to go edit, join. All right, so these three surfaces are joined together. They're still open on the bottom. It's not a volume yet. Like if you typed volume, it would fail because there's a hole in the bottom. So you got to use the solid cap planar holes command, and it puts a little surface on this small hole on the bottom. And if we typed volume now, we get a number 4.85, which just means that these surfaces fully enclose a volume. Okay, now that this is a fully enclosed volume and this cup is a fully enclosed volume, we can do a Boolean difference, right? So we can do solid difference. I want to, it says select surfaces to subtract from. I want to subtract from this cup. Press enter. And now it's asking to select surfaces to subtract with. I want to click delete input and say no, right? You want delete input equal to no, because I'm going to pick this thing and press enter. So basically it took this half sphere, or a little bit less than half a sphere, and it hollowed it out, and you can see that in the perspective view. It's, maybe if I put it on artistic, except artistic takes forever with these wireframes, so shaded maybe. Okay, so this is a cup. Okay, I'll Control Z to put it back. And that's it basically. So pick this thing and drag them over here. Maybe pick this thing and separate it a little bit. Then go to the perspective view. Play around with the camera here. Get a view that looks about like that. Okay. Do the window snipping tool, new, draw window. Okay, take this thing right here, paste it into Word. That's the assignment. All right. Thanks.